We're so excited for you to be able to join us to learn more about APU. We have an amazing schedule ahead. We're just going to keep doing this until some people can join in if they're having trouble logging in, but welcome. We are so excited to be able to be here with you and share more about who APU is and what it would look like to be a student as well as a faculty member at APU, and the general experiences at APU that our students get to participate in, and what makes APU special and different. So thank you so much for being here today. Hi everyone, if you're just joining in, my name is Bethany. Thank you so much for being here. We are super excited to be able to share about APU with you. We're just going to wait probably one more minute until more people are joining.
Beth, while we wait for people to join, can we do a get to know Beth? Can I ask you questions?
Yes. Go ahead, Drew.
Okay.
Awesome.
Also, I'm Andrew Brown. I'm also an admissions counselor. I'm supposed to introduce myself in like 4 minutes, but I'm here. Okay, Beth, where are you from?
So I'm from San Diego, and then I decided to go to APU. It was like just a good enough distance for me, about 2.5 hours away. And so now I'm actually full-time staff with Drew, and we're super excited to be here. Great question, Drew.
What did you major in?
I majored in psychology as a student, and a fun fact, I actually changed my major 3 times while I was a student at APU, but I still graduated in 4 years. So for those of you students that are here that aren't really sure what you want to do, that's totally okay. And APU faculty and staff really comes alongside you to help you figure that out.
Good. You're already doing a great job. Also, welcome everyone. We're just waiting. We're waiting for everyone to log on. So I'm just interviewing our amazing admissions counselor, Bethany. Oh, what areas of the country do you work with students from?
Yes, I do have the privilege of working with students from Sacramento area, and then far north, so past that. And then I also work with students from the Long Beach and the South LA area. What about you, Drew?
I work with students from Washington and Oregon and Idaho and the West LA area, so Santa Monica. And let's see, is that it? Oh, I just had a student from Missouri yesterday.
Can't forget about Missouri.
No,
thanks, Drew.
No, so yeah. Beth, if you had to choose one place on campus, since we can't be physically on campus right now, if you describe in great detail, very like if J.K. Rowling were describing something, describe in great detail your favorite physical place on campus. Wow,
that's really hard. Favorite place on campus, I would have to say inside Darling Library. It's a rounded area. You get the view of this beautiful little moat as you're sitting writing a long paper about whatever topic you may be majoring in. That's probably one of my favorites on campus. It's very peaceful, and I feel like I can be focused and get my work done. So that's good.
I could never do homework in there because it was so fancy. I was afraid that I was going to fall asleep and start snoring, and then it would be really embarrassing. So I usually did my homework outside, where if I fell asleep, no one would notice.
Okay, so it looks like we've had a steady number. So welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Bethany. I'm an admissions counselor here. This is my colleague Drew. And then we also have 2 other amazing counselors with us. So we do have Crystal Rosales. She's one of our amazing transfer counselors. And then we have Thomas Chan. He is another amazing admissions counselor who are kind of working behind the scenes. You'll see them a little bit. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us. We have an amazing team of faculty, and we are so excited to be able to head into today. So I would love to be able to just intro what this event is about. So obviously we are from APU. Myself and Drew are both alumni from APU. So we're really excited to be here and just share a little bit about our values as a university, our cornerstones, what we believe in. And those are actually Christ, scholarship, community, and service. So you'll hear a little bit about those today. And I'm really excited to be able to walk you through the different events we have. So we will have some videos with some information. We'll also have a few different presentations sprinkled throughout for you guys to be able to learn about paying for college, to learn about why APU, and also to learn about our faculty and our students. So we will have those two panels later on. And so you guys will get to hear from our faculty. They're amazing. They are well researched. They're also just so involved in our student community. And so you guys will be able to see that. Thomas will be leading that faculty panel. And then we also will have a student affairs and a student panel led by Drew here. And that's going to be a really fun time for you guys to hear from two of our current students. So to hear a little bit about their world and their experience at APU, and what that looks like as a student. So hopefully this will be a really fun, informative time for you guys. And yeah, Drew, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I am excited to be here. Actually, my roommate just got an espresso maker. So I made my own espresso this morning, so I'm very ready for this. I'm excited to be able to present specifically with Beth. I think the two of us make a pretty good team, especially because we had very different experiences coming to APU. Beth is from California, so she had an in-state application process, and I'm from Oklahoma. Believe it or not, people live in Oklahoma, and I love Oklahoma because I saw Kim say, what about North Carolina students? Shout out to North Carolina and us out-of-staters. And so we, between the two of us, kind of cover a very wide variety of student experience. And we are also very excited to be able to present to you all. And we also have a number of, we cover also the international office as well. So whether you're a transfer, freshman, domestic, international, this is for you. In the meantime, while we get into these presentations, you can open up the Q&A chat. If you have a question, feel free to type it in there. And we have counselors, Thomas and Crystal will be answering those questions. And if it's a question that could be good for everyone, we may save it and do it during whether it's the faculty panel or during the student life panel. So ask all the questions you want. We have people available. This is a time for you. And I am so excited to hopefully present about what APU means to me and kind of that process, and how as a whole admissions staff, we really are cheering for what God has for you. And APU is a part of that story for us. And so if it is a part of that story for you too, we want to be able to give you all the resources and all the information necessary to be able to apply and be able to get in and be excited about APU. So yeah, Beth, if you want to take it away and introduce the first video.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Drew. Love getting to do this with you. Okay, so our first video is going to be from one of our students. His name is Timothy Gee, and he'll just share a little bit about his experience within his major.
My name is Timothy Gee. I'm an allied health major, and I'm a senior. One of the most memorable moments for me was when I went on my admissions trip on an action team to the Himalayas. My team and I, we went to this town, and every night around 7 o'clock in the town square, all these people would gather and they would just start dancing. And we had no idea what the language was. We couldn't really communicate with them, but we engaged and we just participated in this act of dancing, and really, no words were exchanged, but I felt such a sense of hospitality and community there. And there's something about that event and that interaction that really was nonverbal, that really helped me understand how helping people or even connecting with people doesn't necessitate words. It just requires you to be present. And for me, being an allied health major on my path to becoming a PA, a physician assistant, that interaction was just an analogy for hopefully what I'll be able to do, connecting with people despite the lack of words.
Awesome. Well, hopefully you guys enjoyed that video. I think Timothy is cool. What about you, Drew?
Yeah, he is much. I studied English and theology, so I have so much respect for anyone in sciences. Let's get started. I get to do the first presentation. So buckle up. I have 3 shots of espresso in me, so here we go. I get to talk about why APU. Let's start the presentation. Perfect. So why APU? That is probably a great question you're asking right now because you're attending this event. This is an overview of kind of the distinctives of what APU is, what APU has to offer, and the reasons that Beth and I both came, studied for 4 years, loved our experience, and just decided we wanted to keep working at APU. A little backstory on me. My first job at APU, we offer 2,000 on-campus jobs. My first job at APU was as a student caller in the admissions office. That was in fall of 2011. And now it is fall of 2020, and I'm still in the admissions office. So your first job in college could be a job you fall in love with. So return on investment, ROI, that is a really big term these days. ROI, return on investment, it means what you invest in now. So the education you're investing in, how is that going to pay off in the long run? Because sometimes it can be a little bit confusing. You want to know that you're able to, if you put in money now, if you put in that investment, that there's going to be a payoff down the road. And so there's kind of 4 factors within the higher education market for that return on investment. There is affordability, employability, diversity, and academic reputation. So I'm going to walk through each one and specifically how APU addresses each of those areas. First, affordability. So there are a lot of myths in private colleges. Probably the biggest myth is that you see the sticker price and then you say, okay, not going to do that, can't do that, because the sticker price is higher than an in-state school often. So that is a myth. 100% of our undergraduate students receive financial aid. So 100%. So that is every single one. So every student, when you apply, you are going to be receiving financial aid. And financial aid comes in multiple different forms. I won't touch on that too much right now because I have an entire paying for college presentation that I'll be doing in just a little bit. So it's kind of like a cliffhanger, like, oh, what does 100% mean? So APU's true cost of attendance, once we take into account the aid that you receive, our true cost of attendance is lower than other schools. So the average true cost for private colleges is $25,451 for us. For other schools, it's $32,300. That is quite a big difference. It's a difference of $7,000. And if someone said, hey, if I could give you $7,000 right now, would you take it? I would say, yes. And as you can see by my background, I'd probably use it for books. APU scholarships are one of the highest among private colleges in California. So our scholarship models are quite large. And again, they are guaranteed. Not to be a spoiler for my next presentation, but our scholarships are based just on your application. So there isn't a separate scholarship application to fill out for our basic scholarships between $10,000 and $21,000. 52.6% of incoming students receive the APU grant. The APU grant is a needs-based grant, so it's based on the FAFSA. I'll get into that, the free application for federal student aid. I'll get into that a little bit later, but so over half of our students receive an APU grant, which is where we look at everything you're receiving and we see what else we're able to offer to be able to fill in that gap. And students graduate with less student loans than the national average. So national average is $29,900 in student loans. That means you take out money now, and after you graduate, students owe about $30,000. At APU, after graduating, you owe about $23,000. So again, there's a $7,000 difference there. So I would love $7,000. Graduation rates. So a big thing about affordability people don't often think about is how long is it going to take to graduate? Because people think in a year metric, so you think, oh, it costs this much per year. And then you just think, oh, times 4. But a lot of times, because of something called impacted colleges, impacted universities, that's when you aren't able to get all the classes you need to graduate on time. Because of that, often you end up having to pay for extra semesters or extra years. Our graduation rate at APU is at 68%, where at Cal State it's 57%. And our retention rate, so retention rate is keeping students on campus. They enjoy it so much that they want to stay. Our retention rate is 85% at Azusa Pacific, where the national average is 61%. A lot of that, I attribute that big difference in students wanting to stay to the simple fact that we want to build a community that is rooted on intentionality, that's rooted on getting to know one another, cheering for one another. Our classrooms aren't competitive, they're collaborative. So we have hard classes. Our professors are difficult, but they're difficult in a way that they want to make you better, and they're so accessible and available. Our student to faculty ratio is 11-1. So you're going to be in small classes where you're going to have access to professors. So if the professor assigns a 20-page paper, you have access to be able to go to that professor as many times as you want and get help on that. And so it makes students want to stay because they're growing and getting better in their specific fields. Next section is employability. That is, at base, it is getting a job after you graduate college. So you want to be able to go to college, you want to have a great time, you want to have a great experience, but at the end of the day, you want to graduate and be able to be employed. So what happens after graduation? For our class of 2019, 86% of students have reported either finding work or continuing their education in graduate degrees. That is a vast majority of our students. And for students, the reason so many can find work is because we have campus on-job training. So our campus, our career center, serves students before, during, and after their college experience. So before, that means when you apply to APU, you get in, you decide to come, you have access to our over 2,000 on-campus jobs already. So through an online job search through APU called Handshake, you have access to be able to apply for jobs before you even step foot on campus. While you are a student on campus, there are 2,000 jobs available to you. Like I said, my first job was working in the admissions office as a student caller. And then my junior year, I was a student intern in the admissions office. And then my senior year, I was a senior intern in the admissions office. All of those jobs are paid, and you can see the direct professional development that happened throughout that time. One example is when I got to college, I was convinced that anyone who wore a tie was fake. Like they would just communicate, like, oh, they can't be, like, you need to be real and like with the people. And now through that position, through that time in the admissions office, I've learned how do I speak professionally while also representing myself and being authentic. And so I was learning about communication in classes, but I was also on the job learning about communication and learning how has God specifically designed me to be a communicator. So today, as you see Beth present, as you see Thomas on screen, you'll see that we're all different communicators. That's something I love about APU in our office, is they aren't trying to teach a uniformity, but they're trying to find the unique skill sets in each one of us so that as we go into the workforce, we are prepared to meet our work with our specific skill sets. So it's not a one size fits all, but it's a unique experience. That's why we have over 2,000 jobs to discover. And then after you graduate, our Career Center prepares students by we do mock interviews, we do resume touch-ups. They have connections to internships, they have connections to jobs, they have an entire job network to get students in. So a recent study actually from Niche found that APU alumni earn an average salary of $51,100 in their early career. So 2 years out of school, on average, they're getting $42,000, and by 6 years, they're at $51,000. Whereas the national average begins at $26,900 and goes up to $33,028. We, on average, our students do make more because they have been so specifically and uniquely trained to be great candidates and great employees within workforces. And then finally, on average, APU alumni earn more over their lifetime than other schools. That is also from niche. So over their lifetime, students earn much more than a student who graduated from a different college because of how we prepared our students. Next, diversity and access. So diversity and accessibility resources. APU is a diverse community. This past year, 66% of our students are students of color on campus. We want to be a place that is diverse, but also intentionally approaches that diversity. We believe that God has created diversity, created multiple experiences, multiple religious Christian denominations, so that we are able to be together and learn from one another. So we represent students from 48 different countries around the nation. I know we have a couple international students in here. I would love if you want to send the chat where you are tuning in from, and around the country. I love hearing what states are represented. But we have students who come from 48 different countries. We have students who come from all across America. We are a Hispanic serving institution, and we are spiritually diverse, representing 55 denominations. So APU we're a Christian university. God first is our motto, but we're what we call interdenominational, which means we don't belong to one specific denomination. So we aren't a Baptist college or Methodist college, but we represent the broad Protestant Christian faith. Students don't have to sign a statement of faith to come to APU. We want you to be able to come and explore and ask questions. I always compare it to Star Wars. If you're in a Star Wars fan club, if you had to sign something saying you're in a Star Wars fan club ahead of time, you would feel like you couldn't ask what are the plots of the movies because you'd be discovered for not actually knowing Star Wars. We don't want that with Christianity. We want you to come and ask, what is the Bible? Who is Jesus? What does this look like? And so all of our faculty and staff do sign statements of faith, and students attend chapels as well as biblical studies courses to be able to learn more about the Christian faith in a way that opens them up to be able to ask questions and explore for themselves. 30.35, so almost a third of our students are first generation college students. That is something I am very passionate about. Beth and I have had conversations about it. We're both passionate about first experience college students. My dad is a college professor, so when I was applying to colleges, I kind of knew the terms. I knew what to look for. I knew what the FAFSA was. And some students don't have that access, don't have parents who have worked in university or went to university. And so that is what we are here for as admissions counselors. We also have an entire office for first generation college students. We want to come alongside you and help you and cheer you on so you can thrive in college and graduate in that 4 years. We are also a yellow ribbon and military friendly school. We've been distinguished in the top 20 colleges for vets in California. So we have multiple resources. We do have an entire office for military veteran benefits. We have ROTC on campus. If you have more questions about that, I saw a question in the chat earlier. Our counselors in the chat can send you more information and send you the email and phone number for that office, and they'll be able to help you out. Finally, something that is really important to me is the Academic Success Center. And within that, the Office of Accessibility and Disability Resources. I took this job and am in this job because I want to be able to relate and help students and cheer them on. So one thing that's really kind of a big part of my story and my academic journey is I have mental OCD. So in studying, what that looks like is it's very similar to ADD. I really have a hard time reading. I read at about 30 to 40% the rate as the average reader, and I got my master's in English and my undergrad in theology. So degrees that are built for reading. And I was really worried that I wouldn't be able to do it, specifically graduate school. I thought that I would just get passed up. I thought I would get looked over. I thought professors wouldn't care that I had this just learning difference. And our Accessibility and Disability Resources Center, as well as our Academic Success Center, they want to help you. They will help you succeed. So whether that is being able to have a separate testing location, being able to have resources to help me in my reading and my retention. I was able to graduate actually, and now I'm applying for doctorate programs because of the help I received while at APU. So please know wherever you come, wherever you are on the academic spectrum, whether you have great grades or whether your grades are struggling, we want to come alongside you because we want you to succeed. Our academic reputation, we have an 80% acceptance rate into graduate studies in medical school. So I saw a question actually at the beginning of this presentation about what are our acceptance rates. It's at 80% for med school, which is much higher than the national average. Our nursing program ranks in the top 10 in the nation year over year. And our BFA acting program ranks in the top 30 in the nation. The BFA is different than the BA. We offer a number of BFAs. It's a bachelor's in fine arts as opposed to just bachelor's in arts. I always think BFA, I remember it's because it's a beefier, it's a beefier degree. So it looks better on a resume after you graduate. 93% of APU's domestic accounting students receive job offers before graduation. How amazing is that you can know where you're going to end up, what job you're going to be in before you graduate? And then we're in the top 10 best music schools in California. So we've been ranked all of that. Those are just, what is that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 programs. We have 71 different majors. So we have 66 other examples of amazing degrees. Theology and English, the things I studied aren't even on there. But in English specifically, my professors have helped me prepare me for going into doctoral work as well as becoming a writer and writing online and writing books. And it's because of my professors that I've had access to the industry. We are ranked as an R2 doctoral university by the Carnegie Foundation. Very few schools, specifically very few, I think it's 15% of schools receive this ranking, as well as the community engagement from the Carnegie Foundation. So the doctoral university, that means we have been ranked in the top schools for our research and the research we produce, as well as community engagement, the amount of work we do in the community. So students when they graduate get 120 hours of service credits. It could look like coaching soccer. It could look like helping with homework houses. It could look like volunteering in your church. For me, I did 6 weeks in Peru, actually, volunteering. We send out action teams each summer. Some students do their service work while studying away. So we study away programs in South Africa, in Ecuador, in Norway, in China, in Oxford, Lake Tahoe, Sacramento. So we have study away programs all over that also have service components. And then finally, we ranked in the top 3 of hidden gem universities within California. That was by College Gazette. So we are in the top 3 of schools that are often get overlooked in the sense that it's almost like a best kept secret because we are a mid-sized school with 5,000 students. So we're not huge. And so we have resources to help students specifically, but we're big enough to where we have the world-class faculty, world-class research, world-class opportunities to be able to go to grad school or get a job like the 86% right after you graduate. So to wrap things up, AP provides access to scholarships, connections, learning, and success. So we want to provide access so that students can succeed. And it's not because really we want you to take over the world, or we want you to find exactly where God has you. And we want you to be a place that makes difference. We want to make difference makers. So you're going to see this slide multiple times throughout the presentation. But if you have questions, as always, please reach out to us. Whether by phone at 626-815-6000 or in email at ugadmissions@apu.edu. Because we have a large audience, we go a little broad, but if you have specific questions about your own experience, Beth, me, your counselor will love to hop on the phone and talk about that. So that is the end of the show. I will drink some more espresso and get prepared for my next presentation. But right now I will pass it off to Beth.
Wow. Drew, thank you so much for sharing your experience. I think you're so cool. I think you're the best. How many of you guys think Drew is awesome? I'm sure you guys can light up the chat right now.
If my mom's in the chat, hopefully she'll say something.
So next, our portion, we are going to show another student portrait video. These videos are really fun because we get to hear just a little bit about the student and their experience within their major, their experience, just like Timothy shared on his action team or mission trip experience. And so now we're going to hear another video. So I'll go ahead and get that started for you guys.
I'm Emily O'Hara. I'm a public relations major and I'm a senior. I think one turning point as far as my career and life goals that has happened to me during my time at APU was during my time spent as public relations strategist for Student Government Association. So this position gave me an opportunity to use all the skills and experiences that I've gained in my PR classes toward more of a job position, and also being able to give back to the APU community. It was really special for me to be able to put my future career goals into perspective as far as being able to bring glory to God through what I want to do. My time in SGA really taught me a lot about working with others, how much I love collaboration, but also how much I can appreciate time working on my own creatively, especially toward this goal of bringing people together. PR is all about mutually beneficial relationships, and so SGA gave me the perfect opportunity to kind of help be a voice for those that may not always be able to speak up. So that was really special for me.
All right. I feel like these student videos, they're just like taking center stage, like they get the spotlight, and I'm like, wow, I want to be friends with all of these people.
I know.
And speaking of the student stories, that could be you in the group today. We have such an amazing turnout. There's so many people here. I think this is more than my hometown actually has inside of it. So I'm shocked. I feel a little nervous now knowing that. And so now that I'm nervous, I'm going to take a break and I'm going to pass it to Beth, who's going to talk about Freshman 101. So these are the essential things you need to start thinking about and preparing and thinking through regarding freshman experience. Beth is just honestly one of the best humans. So I'm so grateful that she gets to present this. Take it away, Beth.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Drew. All right, everyone. So I will be talking about what it's like to be a freshman at APU, but also how you're able to become a freshman at APU, right? Which is so important. And so I'll be talking a little bit about our application process, what you can look forward to. If you've already started your application, way to go. I'm going to give you a round of applause here. Awesome job. If not, hopefully after this presentation, you'll be able to start with confidence. So these are just some important deadlines just to be aware of. For our prospective freshman students, we do have a November 15th early action deadline, not to be confused with early decision. Early decision is when you apply to a school and then if you get accepted, you automatically enroll in that school. That's not APU, we are early action. What that means is if you apply by November 15th, then that will enable you to get an admissions decision within about a 3-week time span of you completing the application. So what's nice about that is if you do that around Thanksgiving time, by Christmas, definitely, you'll be able to have that conversation with your family, with people that you live with, and to be able to know what colleges you might be able to go to and kind of narrow down that choice. We also have that same deadline as our trustees deadline. It is also our nursing deadline, so just important to remember. And the trustees, what that is, it's basically a full tuition scholarship. So we do have that available for students to apply for and to be selected for that. Our February 15th is our regular decision deadline. So if you miss the November 15th deadline, you can still totally apply. We would welcome you to still apply. And then June 1st is our fall final deadline. What that means is you definitely want to apply by June 1st. Again, we would hope that you'd apply by November 15th just so that you can get that quick decision and turnaround. Cool. So then we have applying to APU. So this is just talking about what to expect. So you will receive a lot of regular updates with next steps from us, your counselors. If we have the opportunity of working with you, you'll receive frequent mailings and definitely emails with lots of information about deadlines, our events, certain updates, which is very important, especially in this time. Dealing with COVID-19, it's important to be able to check your email. You can also feel free to check our website for lots of updates and information, as well as our virtual events, just like this one. And our application is found at apu.edu/apply. It's a very simple thing to remember. You can also screenshot any of this presentation if that would help you remember certain things that you'd like to go off of in the future. Please take notice. So these are a few things just to note. So just because you do meet the listed requirements and the minimums, it's not guaranteed that you will have admission to the university. Each application is reviewed on the basis of the minimum requirements listed and also the student's fit for the university. So just like we were talking about, one of the coolest things about APU is that we really want students to apply and come as they are. So what that means is we do have, like Drew mentioned, we do have lots of different students with various backgrounds. And so just know that we're not just looking at your GPA, we're not just looking at your essay, but we really want to be able to get to know you guys in that essay and to be able to see, okay, would this student fit in our university? Would this student want to be involved? Where would they want to be involved? And so we're taking all of that into consideration throughout that. Lastly, you won't receive an offer from us until you've been admitted into the institution. So the great thing is that probably one of our favorite parts, myself and Drew, is that we actually get to walk you guys through your financial aid. And what sets us apart as counselors is that we know all the financial aid, we know the ins and outs, we don't know everything, that's for sure, but we do know a good amount and an amount that makes us confident in helping you really begin to realize, okay, what would be my true cost to attend APU? How would I be able to do that? What scholarship will I receive? What multiple scholarships will I receive? And what does that look like for me specifically in my family situation? So yeah, so that's a little bit about those specific things. So moving on to once you're admitted. So once you're admitted, we do have an amazing APU portal. I definitely use this portal. It was like my best friend throughout college, not really, but has so much information for you guys, and that's found at home.apu.edu. And this portal is really personalized for you to be able to keep track of your progress, your application, and what's going on as a student. So it even has the trolley tracker. As you guys can see, the trolley tracker is a staple to being an APU student. You're able to see what trolleys are where, how long you're going to have to run across to the other campus until you have another trolley coming, how long it'll take for you to walk. Not really, doesn't have that, but it has where the trolleys are, which is super fun. It also has the map in case you're lost, but don't worry, you can always ask any APU student and I'm sure they'd be able to help you find your way around. It's really, the students are really super sweet and nice, so they'll be able to help you with any questions you need. Don't be scared to ask people questions. And once you're admitted, basically we have a few next steps for you. The deposit is due May 1st. That is a $300 enrollment deposit. And below these three little check marks is what happens when you deposit. So your spot is secure to APU, which is fantastic. Your housing preference will be submitted. So basically, you guys might have these questions, but once you apply to APU, you'll be able to fill out a housing preference form with, what are my sleep habits? Am I a morning person? Am I a night owl? What does that look like? What's my major? What do I want to be involved in? And I'm sure our student panel will be able to cover that as well. But that is something that happens. And then after that, you'll get to register for summer orientation. Summer orientation is such a fun part of your APU experience. You get to meet other people, sometimes from your own area where you live, and to be able to meet people that are also coming to APU and kind of get registered for your classes, which is super exciting. And lastly, this scene right here, this is probably one of my favorite memories from being an APU student. This is called our Candela. It's pretty famous at APU. This Candela is taking place on your first day of coming to APU. So this is literally after welcome weekend, you're here with your parents, your family, your guardians, and you're basically dedicating your college experience and dedicating that to God, dedicating that to your family, dedicating it to your future as well. And the really, really special piece about this Candela is that it also happens one other time in your APU experience. It happens on graduation weekend. So you actually get to participate in this really special service, both when you're starting at APU and when you're finishing at APU. And both when you're starting your college experience and when you're finalizing that and jumping into the real world. And for me, this was so special. Usually our president addresses our students. Sometimes we sing a song of worship, but I think for me, this just really marked, okay, I'm jumping into this. I might not know what I want to do. I might not know what I'm going to look like on the other end, but I know that at APU, I'm guaranteed to be able to feel safe, to feel connected to people, and to feel like I'm encouraged and supported by our staff, our faculty, and our services throughout our university. And so hopefully this could be you guys. This could be you guys. And I'm really excited to be able to share just a little bit more. And that's basically it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate that. And hopefully you learned just a little bit about our application and now you're ready to apply.
Thank you so much, Beth. Before I go into the next section, we have gotten multiple sets of questions. I don't know how to say that correctly, but specifically about nursing. So I thought I might just answer those really quickly about the nursing application. So our APU application, unfortunately, is not on the Common App. I saw a question in there. So we have a separate application, apu.edu/apply, apu.edu/apply, apu.edu/apply. And I always like this. I've heard you say three times. But for nursing, that does have some additional components to it. Our nursing process is what they call direct entry, which means you will find out this year if you've been accepted into the nursing program. With that said, there is a couple extra pieces. There's a couple extra recommendations, an essay, and that is due by November 15th, like Beth just said. We accept 100 incoming students to be a part of the nursing degree. If you are accepted, you're guaranteed to graduate in 4 or 4.5 years. But it is essential that you get your application in by November 15th. That is a hard deadline. If you don't get it in by then, your application, unfortunately, will not be considered for the nursing degree. Beth, is there anything I'm forgetting about nursing?
No, I think
okay.
That's good.
Yeah. The nursing can be very specific to each student. There's always specific questions. I noticed there's some really specific questions in the chat that we'll answer privately. But when in doubt, reach out. Oh, that rhymed. When in doubt, reach out to your admissions counselor. So feel free to email me. My email is abrown@apu.edu. I can help you out. I can also get you in touch with your admissions counselor. And I would be more than happy to help you, walk you through either the nursing program. I saw there's questions about the music, questions about, specific degrees. Animation, theater can also be a specific degree as well. So feel free to reach out to me. I am happy to help. And right now, it's free. So we don't have an application fee code waiver. We have an application fee code waiver. Type in Go Cougars. You can get your application for free. So now I feel like that's like my commercial, but now is a better time as any to get that application in and get it started. So reach out if you have any questions. Next, I will be showing we'll be talking about financial aid. So we're talking about paying for college. I saw in my earlier presentation, there were multiple questions about that, about what does it look like to come, what is tuition. I'll get into all of that. This video, though, we want to show really quick, is a video that we send to students to understand your financial aid. So it is just a helpful overview, and then I'll unpack that more in the presentation. So we'll take it away.
I'm Emily O'Hara. I'm a public relations major and I'm a senior. I think one turning point as far as my career and life goals that has happened to me during my time at APU was during my time spent as public relations strategist for Student Government Association. So this position.
Whoops, I totally played the wrong video. Hold on, guys. Sorry. 1 second. Or actually, Drew. Oh, let's see. I think I have this right.
We can play it afterwards if you want to. Oh, perfect.
For some reason, it's still pulling that one. So yeah, I'll play it afterwards. Go ahead, Drew.
Great. Yeah, perfect. Doing Zoom right now, it always reminds me when I was a kid, I would make home movies. Like I'd do these whole plays for my family with my friends, and I would have my parents sit down and watch. And I always feel like I'm recreating one of those in Zoom. Let me get us ready. I'll share my screen. Perfect. So paying for college. This will be a presentation that, whoops, let me present. Start from the beginning. Perfect. So this will be a presentation that will naturally create a lot of specific questions. I am a firm believer that paying for college financial aid is a one-to-one conversation. So from the very beginning, I want to say, as soon as you receive your financial aid from APU, your counselor will create a financial aid breakdown, an Excel spreadsheet, but we will walk you through it step by step. At APU, we believe deeply in transparency. We believe deeply in presenting exactly what it'll look like to come to APU financially. You'll see everything we're offering you, all of our scholarships and aid. And so we want to be able to come alongside you and help you in that process, that discernment process. That is something that is just, I can't emphasize enough. I am so passionate about being sure that I get to be objective and present all the facts to you. I am not a salesman trying to convince you to, oh yeah, you need to come no matter what. I get to come alongside you and show you what APU looks like, both as an experience, as a return on investment, as well as financially. And so this paying for college presentation begins to show what those elements are to not just APU, but applying to any financial aid program across all the colleges you're applying to. So education and investment. So what are you investing in? You're investing in employability, like I mentioned, and the return on investment. So APU ranked in the 92nd percentile in employability by The Economist in 2015. So it means we were at the very top as far as students' employability after they graduate. That's seen in my earlier presentation through 86% of our students either in grad school or have jobs, and the average salary is much higher. And long term, so according to College Factual, APU degree is worth $1,311,000 over the course of 30 years. So we want students to be able to provide for themselves and their family after they graduate. And that is what you're investing in. So there's affordability factors. So key questions to ask yourself: are there on-campus jobs, internship opportunities? What's the average graduation timeline? AKA what I said earlier, how long is it going to take to get a degree? And the average salary for new grads. And the nice thing is I've kind of already answered some of those. That our graduation timeline, you can graduate in 4 years. We aren't impacted. So you can really look at that true 4-year average. Our nursing degree does do either 4 or 4.5 years, but that is a guaranteed graduation as well, as long as you maintain good grades and don't switch your major your senior year, things like that. And our average salary for new grads is, I think, wasn't it within 6 years, new grads are making on average $52,000. This is a similar mythbuster to what I was speaking to earlier. There's a common thought that every bracket of income for families, that certain brackets get more aid than other brackets. Like I said earlier, 100%. So 100% of our students receive financial aid. And that is independent of what tax bracket or what their FAFSA says. They will be receiving financial aid in the form of our scholarships and awards. These are key terms: FAFSA, EFC, cost of attendance, need. FAFSA is the calculator to determine the EFC, free application for federal student aid. Hopefully you've heard this from your high school counselors a whole bunch. This is VIP, very important process. Oh, that was pretty good. And the EFC is the estimated family contribution. That is what is shared at the end. So once you do your FAFSA, you get the EFC at the very end. It is a number that's calculated using the FAFSA data and federal formula. It stays the same regardless of the college you apply to. So you're going to have one number for all the colleges you're applying to. A common misconception is that this number is the amount that you're going to have to pay to attend school. Or the reverse, another common misconception is that this is the amount that of aid you will receive from any college. That number is not actually a dollar amount. That number is a classification. So it to us, at the college side, it tells us where you and your family fall as far as need in regards to an education. And then COA, cost of attendance. Cost of attendance, another word for that is sticker price. So we saw earlier, we were talking about sticker prices and how they can often be deceiving because you receive scholarships that make that sticker price go down. Cost of attendance is the sticker price, so tuition, room, board, fees, plus on top of that miscellaneous costs, whether that is books or commuting, things like that. That one varies between colleges. So need is the difference between cost of attendance and EFC, estimated family contribution. Here's a nifty graph, little chart for you. So cost of attendance on the left, that is variable, so that changes, you know. So one could be a school that costs $75,000. Two could be a school that costs $50,000. Three could be a school that costs $25,000. The EFC stays the same. So you put the EFC underneath the need, and that is what is left over. So the remaining that's needed. I know also I'm talking quickly because these terms can be confusing. And in the 10 minutes to kind of talk through financial aid, it can get a little confusing and feel a little quick. So again, our financial aid, when we talk through it, for those appointments, we set aside 45 minutes to an hour to talk through it in depth. If it goes past an hour, that's great. We are here to help you. So again, this is kind of like an appetizer. You know, I think I'm the waiter walking around with the tray of hors d'oeuvres. It's like it whets your appetite. You get a taste of it, but you kind of want to know more. Well, that's the goal of this presentation, is to make you want to know more. And so we can reach out and have a more in-depth, personalized conversation around those terms and what that looks like for you and your family. Sources of aid. So there's federal aid. That is, so when you fill out the FAFSA, free application for federal student aid. Federal aid comes in the form of a Pell Grant. Year over year, traditionally it's around $6,345 is the most you can receive in a Pell Grant from the United States government. There's state aid. So if you're an in-state student from California, you can receive a Cal Grant. A Cal Grant comes in multiple different forms, but it generally is it's $9,084 a year for Cal Grant A. Cal Grant B is $1,400, but then your sophomore through senior year, it jumps up. So that is the state aid. Institutional aid would be the APU grant. So we see everything you're receiving from the federal government, from California if you're an in-state student, and we say, how much more can we offer to fill in that remaining balance? We want to be able to put our money where our mouth is and invest as you put money into your education. We want to invest into you and say that we believe in you as well. And then there's outside aid. So outside aid can come in the form of, if you've heard of FastWeb, FastWeb has outside aid scholarships. So it could come from big companies offer scholarships or local Rotary clubs, anything that isn't connected to the FAFSA and isn't connected to the school you are applying to. Breakdown of aid. That is our sticker price versus true cost. So it's what I mentioned earlier. The sticker price looks big, and then the true cost is the smaller amount that you end up paying after you receive all of that aid. Our sticker price includes tuition, housing, university service fees, health insurance, and miscellaneous costs. So the sticker price for APU is right at $51,000 a year. Tuition is at $40,000. So if you commute, that's what tuition would cost. But if you include housing, fees, health insurance, room and board, like dining plan, it's right at $51,000 a year. However, that is reduced greatly by the scholarships and aid students receive. Our scholarships, scholarships come from multiple different sources. It's free money awarded on the basis of academic and other achievements. So it's outside aid like FastWeb, APU scholarships. MEL, which is our Multi-Ethnic Leadership Scholarship for students who are passionate about conversations around diversity and equity. That is available. You can reach out or send in the chat and we can send you more information about that. Athletics, forensics, like speech and debate, music, BFA in theater, or acting, or arts, math, accounting scholarships, and then finally we have academic scholarships as well. Those range from $10,000 to $21,000 a year. And that is just based on your application. There isn't a separate scholarship application for those. I mentioned these grants earlier. Our Pell Grant is from the United States government, $6,000. SEOG is for students who apply really early for the FAFSA. The FAFSA opened October 1st, so you need to be applying now. It's for students who meet certain qualifications and apply early. It's about $1,500. Cal Grant A or B, and then the APU grant, which we try to fill in some of that remaining balance. Loans. Loans are borrowed money that you pay back later. Very important disclaimer with loans is you want to be careful. I've had students who received calls from random people offering them these great loans and you need to take it out now. And unfortunately, we live in a world where people really want to take your money. So you want to make sure that you're getting your loans from reputable sources. When you fill out the FAFSA, students will automatically qualify for $5,500 in direct loans. That is from the government. This past year, the interest rate was at 4.53%. So that is controlled. Those are good loans, the first you'd want to take out. We also have a Parent Plus loan that is also available for parents if they want to take out a loan to invest in their students' education. Loans are a world in itself that I would love to sit down and talk in depth with you about. So true cost, what's left over? So that's what's left over that you owe after subtracting academic scholarship, outside scholarship, grants, loans, health insurance waiver. So that is the remaining balance you would owe to pay out of pocket your first year. We break that up over 8 payments, an 8-month payment plan. Mentioned earlier, you can look for outside aid at FastWeb. You can look online on Google. For applying for those loans, you need to look, scholarships, outside scholarships. It varies based on the scholarship itself. So you'll need to want to double check what those requirements are. And then federal work study. Federal work study is getting a job on campus. If you qualify, all of our jobs on campus are available for students with or without federal work study. If you qualify for federal work study, you can get a job on campus. It's about 10 to 15 hours a week. You get a paycheck every 2 weeks in your student mailbox. So it's up to you what you do with it. It doesn't go directly to your student school bill unless you want it to. And then next year, we fill out the FAFSA. If you do qualify for federal work study, the FAFSA won't see that as income. It'll see that as scholarship. So it won't negatively affect your EFC, your FAFSA score. Here, this is the meat, our academic scholarships. So they range from the President's Scholarship, $21,000 annually, down to the Mary Hill Award, $10,000 annually. This year, we are not requiring an SAT or ACT score due to COVID, due to the closing of testing centers. So we base this on your GPA. This is based on your GPA, and you get it all 4 years. And to keep it, you have to maintain just a 2.8 GPA. We want students to be able to keep their scholarships, so we don't want to take them away from them. And then our Trustees Scholarship, we give out 8 students receive a 4-year full tuition award. It is for students with over a 3.9 GPA or in the top 5% of their class. The application is due by November 15th. This is very important. Once you get your application in, 40 finalists are chosen to come onto campus in the spring and interview for this tuition, this Trustees. This process was actually the process I went through, and it helped me decide that I wanted to go to APU. So I love helping students in that Trustees Awards, Trustees Scholarship application process. So again, abrown@apu.edu, abrown@apu.edu, abrown@apu.edu. If you want to talk more about that Trustees Scholarship, I'd be happy to have a conversation. And the FAFSA. We want to close with this. Free application for federal student aid, October 1st. That's important. And then the taxes your parents will use, your guardians will use, is the prior year. That means if you're applying for fall 21, your parents will use the taxes from the 2019 tax year. A big thing going on right now is COVID and the economy. And so if your parents, guardians, the people you live with have changed, their income has changed since 2019, there is an appeal process. So please communicate that with us, and we can help you through that appeal process. December financial aid offer letters are created for students. So if you get it in, fill out your FAFSA, apply, get accepted, you will get a financial aid letter from us in December with a breakdown. March 2nd is the FAFSA priority deadline. It's also the deadline for Cal Grant. So in order to qualify for Cal Grant, it has to be in by March 2nd. And then May 1st is what we call National Candidates Reply Date. That means it's the date you choose your college. So it's the enrollment deadline. Read instructions. Pay attention to dates, distinguish between student and parent information. Make sure everything is as of the date you complete the form. Be honest, take your time. Those are the tips and tricks I always like to give to students. I can talk way more. I've already gone over in my time for this presentation because I can talk for days about specifically, financial aid, what that looks like, because it can be a confusing world, and it's my job to help make this world less confusing for you. So feel free, please ask questions. I am here to help, and thank you so much. And I will pass it on to Beth for introducing our next session. I don't know if we have the financial aid video ready, but if not, hopefully I described it well enough.
Yes, Drew, you actually predicted the future. You described it so well that we're not going to have to play that video. I know.
Perfect.
Thank you guys so much for listening. Hopefully now you can learn a little bit more about financial aid. Again, that was an appetizer, just like Drew said. You don't have to memorize everything. You don't have to know everything right now. It can be very overwhelming, but that is why myself, Crystal, Thomas, and our other counselors are here for you. We'll be able to walk through your whole total financial aid package with you. So with that, I'm going to play this next video about one of our faculty, and it highlights her experience as a faculty member.
I did because you gave.
Sorry guys, let me do that again. For some reason, my videos are all getting mixed up. I click the one I want to play, it plays a different one. I'm not sure why. So let me try this again. One second. If not, then I'm going to go ahead and go into our, it looks like it's still doing that.
Do you guys want to hear Kermit the Frog impersonation? Ready? Hi-ho, Kermit the Frog here. You should come to APU. I always hope videos don't work because then I can throw that in there.
It's so true. Let's see here. All right, I'll try this one more time, guys.
Perfect. And we can always transition to the panel if it doesn't work.
Oh, looks like it decided to work now.
Hi, my name is Tolu Noah. I'm an associate professor in the Liberal Studies Undergraduate Education K-8 program at APU. I would say there are a few things that excite me about teaching. First of all, I think it's a very creative endeavor, and I think that's something that we don't always associate with teaching, but you get to every day, look at the standards and think, how can I make this content come to life for my students? It's really exciting because you get to help shape how students see the world and be a part of helping them develop as human beings. I feel like you have to bring who you are as a teacher to the classroom, so I definitely bring an energy to the classroom with my students. I also like to find ways to make the learning enjoyable for them. For example, when we talk about the concept of student misbehavior, they hear Britney Spears' song, Oops, I Did It Again, which gets them thinking about how does that connect to what we're going to be talking about in class. I also like to have my students engage in things that they would actually do as classroom teachers. They will work in professional learning communities just as they would in a classroom setting. They also engage in service learning projects where they get to be in the classroom for 45 hours, teaching students and then bringing that experience back. So they get to connect the theory and the practice really well. This is a field where you really get to make a difference every day in students' lives.
Yay! Thank you guys for your patience with that. Dr. Tolino was definitely the way. Again, doing this on Zoom is kind of fun sometimes. But Next, we have Thomas here, and he will be introing our next portion of this event, which is our panel section. So go ahead and take it away, Thomas.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Beth. So yes, we are going to transition to our faculty panel today. And this morning, we are very, very blessed to have two very special guests with us. And so our first is Dr. McCoy. He's the chair of our Department of Math, Physics, and Statistics. There he is, just hopped on the camera today. He also teaches a course in honors and was on our General Education Council for a long time. So he has a lot of knowledge about our general education requirements as well. Our other special guest today is Dr. Bodell, and she is right over there, just came on camera as well. Hello. And she is one of our assistant professors for the School of Business and Management, and she actually has 3 degrees from 3 different countries. And so she studied in the US, France, and England. And so needless to say, we are very, very just excited to have them here this morning, and just very much looking forward to what they can share with us today about their programs and just a little bit about what it's like to take classes here at APU. So for both of us today, Dr. McCoy and Dr. Bodell, the first question, just to kick us off, is just this. How long have you been at APU? And just what attracts you to teach and to grow in the different disciplines that you teach here at the university? Why don't we go ahead and start with Dr. McCoy, and then Dr. Bodell, you can go ahead and answer as soon as he's finished.
Hi, everybody. This is my 14th year at APU, and I love solving problems and being creative in a way that accomplishes something tangible.
I've been at APU for full-time for 10 years, and I really enjoy helping to, I'm an assistant professor in the School of Business and Management, and I am specifically in marketing and entrepreneurship. Say that one 3 times fast, right? I enjoy empowering other people's dreams and helping them to discover them. And then regardless of the business speciality that students take, I enjoy helping them to figure out their personal brand and plug them into their future careers.
Awesome. Thank you so much to both of you. Next question that I'm seeing in the chat. By the way, everybody, if you do have specific questions for either of them today, feel free to go ahead and keep throwing those questions in the chat, and we'll be more than happy to answer those live with us today. So the next question that I'm seeing here is, what are some distinctive features that are really unique for you to teach here at a place like Azusa Pacific?
You want to go first on that one, Rachel?
Sure. So like the video said, one of my personal favorite things is service learning. So in my world, in my classes, we do it in 2 different classes, Principles of Marketing and Consumer Behavior. We make a PSA video. If you're familiar with that, it's a public service announcement. Maybe as a kid, when you were younger, you watched Saturday morning commercials and you saw like The More You Know or valuespassidon.com. We make a Christ-centered PSA, and we encourage these our local middle schools. We've got really big middle schools local to us here in Azusa, so we get to do some market research, understand what they're feeling and what's hard for them. Then we come back together and we create these PSAs, and each year annually we update PSAs for them and help to encourage middle school students to thrive in their lives and in their environments. And then we also build these consumer behavior workshops where we help encourage students to think about how to use social media in healthier ways and all sorts of fun things like that. So I really like service learning. We have an incredible study abroad program. Mind you, it's temporarily on hold. But what's been really cool is that we've even thought about how to create international experiences even in a pandemic. So for example, last week, we partnered with a Christian university in India, and we had this collaborative case study with international business students on our end and their end. And it was really neat to see the different perspectives go into solving a business case problem. And so, yeah, that's 2 things: study abroad, service learning.
I'll give 2 things as well. So one thing that I think is really distinctive about APU is our small and supportive classes. So for example, where I went to school, my freshman level classes were probably 150 to 200 students in most cases. At APU, that's very much not the case. I rarely have a class with more than 30 students in it. And so within the first week, I know everybody's name and something personal about them. On the supportive end, you'll find that fellow students and faculty really do care about you individually and are willing to help you out and help you accomplish your goals. and grow. Kind of related, faith integration is a real distinctive for APU learning. So what that means is in every major at APU, you get some kind of engagement within the major about connections between the major and faith. So that comes in a wide variety of formats. In our physics program, which is where I teach, what that looks like is talking about how traditional Christian virtues overlap with virtues of science. So there's this narrative out there that there's this inevitable conflict between, really, they're both searching after truth. So that is quite in common. And a little bit also in our faith integration looks at how can we use our math and science knowledge to really make a difference for the kingdom of God.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your answers. Yeah, just to piggyback off of that a little bit. So I graduated from APU in 2018, and I really loved, having the smaller class size that Dr. McCoy was just talking about. Just really opened up the doors to have some really cool relationships with my faculty that I still have to this day, even after I've graduated. And just to clarify on a quick thing I did mention earlier, so our chat for the Zoom is disabled. So just to be clear, if you do have those questions, go ahead and drop those into our Q&A box. We've been getting a lot of those so far, so great job, everybody. Keep those coming in. We'd love to answer those for you during our time today. All right, the next question that I'm seeing here is double majoring typical for students here at APU? And I suppose for you, Dr. McCoy and Dr. Bodell, if you want to speak to if it's typical in your programs and as far as other programs that you've seen, if that's something that happens.
Okay, so it really depends on the major. Some majors have larger number of units than others. Some majors have really more structured prerequisite sequences. In certain majors, it's difficult to double major, but in other majors, it's really easy. In my particular majors in my department, I'd say about a third of our students end up double majoring. How about you, Rachel?
Yeah, I think that's similar in my world. So I'm also an APU alumni from 2003. My US degree is from APU. And my sister actually majored in biochemistry from APU in undergrad as well, but now she's a medical doctor. She's specifically an OBGYN. So she went to medical school after that. So for her, for example, biochemistry, it didn't really make sense to do additional or degrees for her. But in the case of business, it's actually quite common to see, I just wrote an article for APU, so I don't know if that can go in the Dropbox that's on the internet regarding hybridized skills. So it's really common to have marketing classes or design classes or to partner that with either psychology. So sometimes that means double majoring. Sometimes it means getting a minor. And sometimes it just means taking additional classes in. And honestly, it comes down to the resume oftentimes in business. And so if you can write your education like degrees and then additional classes, I always, we were a strengths-based institution. I'm like, let's look at your strengths. I'm futuristic. So I always encourage students, let's talk about where you want to go. And then once I understand like business-wise where you think you want to go, even if there's like 3 channels that we're cultivating, then let's go backwards and see what kinds of blended skills and or partnered education that you need in order to be competitive in that space.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much. Great. Another question I'm seeing that actually is a perfect segue from what you said, Dr. Bodell, is how does the things and the curriculum that we teach in our courses here, how does that prepare students to succeed in their vocations and the professions that they want to do beyond their time in the classroom here at APU?
Okay, I'll have you go first on that one.
Great. Okay, so I see it's a common theme, I think, in the faculty, including myself. We try to make all of our assignments really meaningful. So only hypothetical if it's meaningful. So I oftentimes will incorporate things like service learning, which not only gets you service and connects in this beautiful way our Christian faith, it gives you this practical, here's how we're applying principles of marketing, specific things to a project which can be used on your resume, LinkedIn, and depending on which skill set you focus on, it will add value to your future goals. So practical assignments, I think, can be really useful to give you skills that you can talk about. And then it's always a part of the classroom conversation. We're always talking about, okay, well, in your experience and in this experience, and I never let students underestimate the jobs they already have. Like, a lot of my students are interns, or they're working at Starbucks or Chick-fil-A across the street, and the owner of the Chick-fil-A across the street from APU also teaches he has a doctorate degree, teaches our retail marketing, and I think he gives students free Chick-fil-A for dinner often. But it's really cool because there's this practical integration into learning and doing, and it's a really big priority for us in the business school.
So I'll tackle that question from the back-end design sort of approach. And I'll even go big to general education. So in our general education council, and I believe in several of our majors around campus, faculty are often thinking about, well, what skills are students going to need when they get out of this program, and really intentionally designing the curriculum from the beginning to accomplish those sorts of skills. So from the general education perspective, we've looked at national studies of what do employers say they want students to be able to do when they graduate. And it's things like being able to communicate well in writing and orally, and being able to think critically. So we've really built those skills into every one of our general education courses. Quick plug on that, some people tend to think general education is the thing you get out of the way. It's really more like the thing that launches you to have these broad skills that every employer wants. So I've heard the catchphrase that your major will get you a job, but it's these other skills that will get you your promotion, which we hope you will get.
Wow. That is a takeaway that I'm going to take for myself. That is wonderful. Thank you, Dr. McCoy. And actually, this next question is more going to be towards you, I think, Dr. McCoy, and it's this. Do you have any internship partnerships or opportunities specifically for the physical science fields?
Okay, physical science. So we're talking chemistry and physics, and the physical science, maybe perhaps engineering as well. So in the Department of Math, Physics, and Statistics, we don't have formal partnerships for internships, but we are quite good at placing students with internships by just helping them find opportunities that would be interesting to them. We also have internships on campus that really are more research-focused internships. Almost every student in our department who wants to do research at some point before they graduate is able to do that with one of our faculty members, and those are typically paid over the summer. Mm-hmm. It's a summer job that pays, that is relevant work experience, and a great resume item for a grad school or a job application, those sorts of things. So that's really good. On the engineering side, they do have formal internship partnerships. So feel free to talk about that with individual faculty in whatever department you're headed towards.
Wonderful. Yeah, and I love that just because APU being a Research 2 institution, as we talked about just a little bit earlier, we do have those opportunities for any of you that are coming in as an undergraduate student to pursue research here, which is a super cool opportunity that you can't find in many other places. So totally right on the ball. Dr. Bedell, I think I'll go ahead and I'll shift that same question to you. In your department, what kind of internships, what kind of opportunities do you have that a lot of students are really vying for within the School of Business?
Great. So, well, we have an accounting school and then the School of Business and Management. And I think one of the statistics was the placement for accounting. We have a lot of firms, and then we have networking events every semester where the firms actually come into our school and they have really well-established relationships, and they love APU business students. So they come looking for more interns and future employers when they're ready to graduate. And then we also have monthly newsletters that connect. Here's all the latest internships that we know. A lot of our alumni come back and have internship opportunities as well for our students. And then that Handshake website works really well to help connect students. And then if you are certain majors within our department, like marketing, for example, you take a class called Marketing Internships, and then there's a number of resources we give you to help get you that internship. And then you're also free to access your own, and then you work alongside a professor, and they help you to apply the things that you're learning to your internship. And it's this really cool bridge opportunity regarding what you're learning with what you're doing out there in the field.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that, Dr. Bodell. All right, everybody, we have one final question for our two lovely faculty members today, and it's going to be this. So are there any final tips for parents or for students just as they prepare themselves for college? I know that coming out of high school and jumping into something as new and exciting as college is a big transition. So what are your biggest tips or biggest pieces of advice that you can give all of our families that are here with us today?
I'm going to steal a tip from one of my friends in our AP writing program. Hijack the assignment. Okay, so what that means, I'm going to break it down a bit. This is take whatever assignment is out there and find something in it that gets you fired up, that excites you and really sparks your curiosity. Go for that thing.
Excellent. I like that. Yeah. In a similar vein, what I try to encourage my students to do, especially because in the business school, we do have things like group projects. And sometimes there's like a big sigh in the room, you know, oh, not another group project. But the thing is when you go out and work in business, or just you're a consumer and you're in life, you have to work with diverse and dynamic people and situations and contexts. So instead of going into the survive your 4 years or survive your group project, figure out how to thrive. And that will take, okay, I'm going to try these things in this group project or in this assignment. And then even if I don't win at all, it's not just a 100% failure or 100% success. Take what you did well. We call it a SWOT, strength, weakness, opportunity, threat. Like analyze, reflect on what went well, what didn't, and then take that into your next assignment, into your next project, and learn how to get better and refine. And that skill set alone will help you to be more successful when you're out in the business environment versus looking at everything as something to survive.
Wonderful. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Dr. McCoy and Dr. Bodell. It was a pleasure speaking with you today. We are going to go ahead and transition into our next piece of our event today. And so I'm going to hand it off to my good friend, Drew, who we heard from just a little while ago. And he's going to be facilitating our student panel. So Drew, take it away, my friend.
Hello. I got so many great tips from that. I also loved hijacking any kind of project. So in English, the paper, find a subject that you love. And if it doesn't necessarily fit the paper specifically, email the professor. Because oftentimes if you show the professor you're passionate, the professor will also be like, yes, let's do this. So I have written actually, yeah, papers I use still today. I go back to often. They didn't exactly fit the assignment, but I went to the professor and the professor said, yes, let's do it. So that's my Drew Brown tip. I have the opportunity and the pleasure to introduce both professionals at APU, staff members who work to make sure students have a great experience on campus, as well as current students. So if you are a part of this panel, if you want to you can hop on right now. Our panel consists of students, Grace Pruitt, and we also have Brittany Billar. We have Jason Lashana, Gidget Wood, and then we also have Natalie Day. So if we want to take turns, introduce yourselves, if you're a student, your year, what you're majoring, and then if you're a staff member, what you do on campus. We'll go, since it's Zoom, I'll kind of tell us the order we can go in so it's not awkward. Let's go staff first. So we'll do Gidget Wood, and then Brittany, Jason, and then we'll do Natalie and Grace. So we'll start with Gidget, if you would mind introducing yourself and what you do at the university.
Hi, good morning. My name is Gidget Wood. I'm actually the director of the Student Health Center. We are in the business of keeping students healthy and staying in classes. So welcome.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. I'm Brittany Billar. I'm our Associate Dean of Engagement within the Division of Student Affairs. And really kind of my role is helping students get connected, involved on campus. I also help oversee our Student Government Association, so advocating for students' needs on campus and making sure their voice is heard. It's good to be with you all today.
Good morning, my name is Jason Lashana, and I serve within our spiritual life area, and my title is Director of our Office of Corporate Worship. And so I work specifically with our chapel services as well as other areas of campus ministry here on campus. Been doing that about 10 years in different capacities, and an APU alum as well.
Hi, everybody. My name is Natalie Day. I'm a senior at APU, and I'm majoring in communication studies, and I have a minor in youth ministry.
Hello, everyone. My name is Grace Pruitt, and I am a senior at APU, and I am majoring in acting for the stage and screen.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. So the first question is often the first question in this time, in this year, regarding COVID and what that looks like. So I'll direct the first question to Gidget, if you wouldn't mind answering this. What health and wellness services are provided and to address COVID-19, both currently and when students are able in the fall to return back to campus?
It's always, right now, it's like the hot topic, right? Well, currently we are on campus. We are doing telehealth visits with students. So whether they live in Washington, Seattle, California, right down the street, we're doing some telehealth appointments for your usual things. We're doing a lot of focus on testing, contact tracing for COVID. So we actually have a testing center on campus. So students, faculty, staff are able to access that to be tested. And then there's the follow-up of that. We do have some isolation and quarantine rooms on campus. So we are working very hard to follow the guidelines from the CDC as well as the LA County to kind of keep us in line and keep us on track with what we should be doing and what we don't need to do as far as testing and surveillance testing. Moving forward, I mean, we're hoping students will be here in January. So we're in full stream ahead planning for testing and surveillance testing so that we know students are healthy on campus. And hopefully this is all going to be behind us come fall, but we will continue to provide testing and support services for students in regards to COVID.
Awesome, thank you very much. So come fall, when students are able to we live on campus again, we had a question in the chat, and I want to ask Natalie and Grace. Grace, if you want to go, you can go first, then Natalie fill in. What is living on campus like?
Super fun. I have lived on campus all 3 years, except this year because COVID did a number on us, and I wasn't able to go back to APU housing, which was sad. But it was super fun because I was able to go in a variety of different housings. So like I started in freshman housing, of course, but the dorms that I was in Adams Hall. And so that was like the all ladies dorm. It was great. We had a sisterhood. Like that was, even though I was not like in all of the meetings or I wasn't at all the events, like that was such a fun time. Even just like walking the halls, you're just like, ah, you're in Adams. Yes, indeed. And like, even now I still have connections with people. I'm like, wait a second. Were you in Adams Hall freshman year? They're like, yes. I'm like, stop. Me too. And it's like already that bond. So even if you didn't like know each other and you like went 3 years without knowing each other and then you meet them your senior year and you're like, how did I miss you? You can be like, I bonded over being in the dorms together. But what's nice about that is that like there's also a lot of like autonomy with it. So you can come and go as you please. You can kind of like, you know, you can see people, you know, obviously during visitation hours and all that jazz. But there's like a lot of just community involvement was in the dorms for freshman year. Like that was such a big like thing for me, was like having people there just all over the place to come and support and just love on me. But also like when I got to go to the apartments, I got to experience what it was like to like kind of live on my own with having to buy my own groceries, but also using Pause and Go because dining plates are a real blessing. Everyone should use them. So just like having the freedom to kind of ease myself into what an independent like living situation would be like was so helpful because I learned how to live with people, but I also learned how to take care of myself. And now I'm like living off campus. But like not by choice. Like I would want to live on campus again if I had the choice. But I don't have it this year and I'm so bummed. But it was such a great experience for me to be able to like ease myself into that while also having the support of like faculty and having like student leaders and like student employees just kind of like give me a lot of support without even really noticing it, which is the beautiful thing about APU. So there's that.
Yeah, I would second everything that Grace just said. And then I also love just being on campus and being close to everybody. So it's really nice just to be able to walk out of your apartment or your dorm or wherever you're at and go to class and you will see someone you know. That is a guarantee. So that's also really nice to make it seem like, okay, I'm living on campus and I have my own space in my apartment or in my dorm, but I also get to step out and I get to see people and know that I'm a part of a community that's right here with me. So I love the whole living on campus experience. I as well lived on campus for the last 3 years and definitely missed that part of, again, just being there, just being able to walk out, walk to class, and seeing people is really, really special. And like Grace said, everybody's super intentional. So even as you're on your way to class or as you're leaving class, oftentimes you'll end up walking back with a classmate or talking to the professor for a little bit, because if you haven't visited the campus, all of our on-campus housing is right there, just either right across the street or actually on the campus. So it's a lot of fun and it's super convenient. And again, it's just nice to see people. It's very comforting. It's very community-based.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you very much. And as we answer, if more questions come up, feel free to put them in the Q&A and we will be able to either answer them on the side or I might ask them to this group right now. Next question for Brittany. So we talked about getting onto campus, how our residence life really fosters community. What other ways do we intentionally, we had a question in the chat about this, intentionally help students? It can just feel very overwhelming entering into a new place with 1,000 new faces. How do we intentionally get them integrated and feel like they belong on campus?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I will say this too, getting involved on campus, the benefits of that actually help you in the classroom. So research shows that the more involved you are on campus, the better it actually helps your academics and your overall college experience. So I will say this, I would encourage you all to at least find one thing you can get involved in as soon as you start your APU career, because that's going to help assist you with so many different things. So that would be my first plug for getting involved on campus. Another benefit is that you will meet a bunch of people. It'll help you build a sense of belonging and find that community that will help support you through your time at APU. So that's another great reason to get involved. So all the opportunities, there are so many ways we help students to intentionally get connected. So the first thing is, as a new student, you get plugged into what we call alpha groups, and you'll have an alpha leader who really walks alongside of you and kind of as a peer mentor, as a guide, help answer your questions or just help you get connected to other students right away. So I would say that's kind of the first intentional support system we have our new students enter into. As far as all the other activities, there are so many things. We have campus events that go on, concerts, dances, open mic nights, you name it. The other thing is we have clubs and orgs. So if you go to our website, you'll see a full list of all the clubs and organizations that we currently have on campus. And the best part is, if you see something that you're like, man, I really wish there was a club around this topic or activity or interest, great. We would love to help you start that too. So just know that there's lots of possibilities with that. We also would say, another great way to meet people and get connected is actually to get a job on campus. That's a great way to get to know other students, to work with students. So even just having a campus job is helpful to intentionally get connected. And then we also have service opportunities. So through our Center for Student Action, our students are provided opportunities to serve the local community as well as globally. So again, another great intentional way to have get connected to other students, get connected to the community, as well as a very transformative experience. Students learn a lot through that. So, and then I know Jason would love this too, and he can hop on this if he wants to add more, but we also have our discipleship groups, as well as lots of opportunities through corporate worship and chapel for students to get connected and involved too. So that's going to be, I think, the hardest thing is there's going to be so much to do. I think the thing is trying to figure out what you want to spend your time and get connected doing. So yeah, we have plenty to do.
You also helped me transition perfectly because my next question is about the spiritual life. I think one misconception I had going into just growing up is that everything is siloed. So you have your physical with the health center, and then you have spiritual at chapel, and then you have friendship relational, and you have academic, where I like, Brittany, how you started, where it like there's that old phrase, a rising tide floats all boats. Like this idea that when one area improves, so does other areas. And so at AP, we want to be focusing on the holistic students, like all of who you are, all of what you bring to the table. And so, yeah, question for Jason. What opportunities are there at AP to grow spiritually, and how do we encourage students to ask the big questions? And what does that look like?
Yeah, I love this question. So you may have seen it since 1899 is a phrase that is often with APU's logos and so forth. And APU did not start as APU, it started as the Training School for Christian Workers. And from the beginning, so for over 100 years now, the idea of having learning in the classroom along with service, along with opportunities to worship together, to pray together, to encounter scripture both in academic and in devotional kinds of ways. It really is just the DNA of the school. It's just what it is and what it has been. And so today, here in 2020 and beyond, that takes place in a lot of different ways, and some of those have been mentioned. And we have two co-curricular requirements, they're called. So chapel attendance and then service in the community are two things that APU has continued to say, and again, these have been that since 1899, has continued to say that these are part of what it means to be formed in a way that is Christ-like, that is sort of an APU education. And so, of course, those other kinds of components that aren't required are part of that as well. But these things really do have a central place in APU life. And so, along with our chapel requirements, students attend several of those a week, and those have been adjusted in COVID. But I would even say that literally right now, because of one of the sort of weird silver linings of this era, if you search on YouTube, APU Chapel, you can actually see our archive of prior to this year and every single chapel we've created this semester. And we post those about 3 times a week. You know, times looking forward, we'll continue to reinstate the service requirement for getting students into the community and to have that as a component. And lots of sort of optional opportunities to be mentored by faculty and staff, informal relationships, to have participation in peer-led discipleship groups organized around a topic of interest. We really do believe that APU, and really this time of life in general, should be a time of asking those big questions, of exploration. The idea is that you will be a different person when you leave this place than when you came in. And so in this kind of formative moment, the desire of the school and of us on staff and on faculty is to help provide and curate those spaces so that those can be asked. And whether that's in a biblical studies class, in chapel, in a discipleship group, or in a business class, or in a nursing cohort, in a living area. These things aren't hopefully too separated out, but they're all part of that sort of APU experience in transformation and in change.
Awesome. So one final question for our staff members was actually a question someone sent in at the very beginning of this. So as we wrap up, if like a pretty quick answer, what is one mistake freshmen often make coming into APU? What is one thing that they often make, and how would you advise them to go about their freshman year? If you can answer that shortly. Sorry, that was a lot of information. But if we'll start the same order. So we'll go Ms. Wood, Brittany, Jason.
Well, I would say, so I had 3 sons that went through APU. I will speak from that perspective as a mom, as well as a staff member. It's okay to make mistakes. It's a safe place to kind of test the waters, figure out, maybe I want to do this. Oh, that doesn't work. Maybe I would just say it's okay to put yourself out there and allow God to work in that. And sometimes you might be surprised as where you find yourself. So I would just say it's okay to make mistakes as you're venturing out in this college experience.
I love that, Gidget, because I think that's part of the growth process, right? Is you you try something, and if it doesn't work, then you learn from that and you move forward, right? So I think that's all part of the college experience. I would say, if anything, I would say this is more advice that I've heard from college students is, it sounds like 4 or 5 years is a long time, but it does go by quickly. So be intentional with your time, and figure out, the things that you want to get involved in, or the things you want to, do, and kind of think about how you want to make the most out of your time at APU, because it will, in some ways, it will go by fast. And so don't wait, don't hesitate, even as you start as a new student, to jump right in. As I said before, like, even if it's getting involved in one thing, like, challenge yourself to do that one thing. And again, there'll be a lot of benefits from getting to meet people, and feeling like you're a part of the community as you continue to get involved. And I think that's like the beautiful part of APU is you as students also help create community and make APU what it is. And so we just want to invite you into that and take advantage of everything that APU has to offer.
Yeah, and I don't know if I would exactly classify this as a mistake, but to name something that I find anecdotally and just in research, this is a really common thing. It's been mentioned, the amount of students who come as first-generation college students. This is a common thing in that population as well as just about anybody. It's this concept, you may have heard of it before, of imposter syndrome. It's kind of a strange idea. The idea of imposter syndrome is this phenomenon that is widespread, and it's this: it's when we come into a new space and we look around and everybody else seems like they kind of know what they're doing. They seem like they belong, they seem competent, and it's this fear that turns inward of, oh no, what if they find out I'm not like them? Or, oh no, what if they find out I don't really belong here? I'm not as smart, I'm not as capable, I'm not as experienced, whatever it might be. And again, I don't know that it's a mistake, but it is something that is quite common. And so I think what I would want to do is name that. That is a common experience as a new college student. And it's hilarious because it is prevalent. Those people that you perceive to be more excellent, more competent, whatever in their area are thinking the same thing about you, if you can believe it. And so I think in some ways there's a challenge of adaptation, and classes are new, and the social experiences are all, there's so many of them. But what I would say is if you're admitted to APU, you're admitted to APU. You belong here. And this is a place that people have believed in you. Otherwise, they wouldn't have accepted you. And so to come in ready to engage, ready to learn, to be yourself, and to be open to new ways that you can be yourself. And not feeling in a one-down position, but that you are here just like anybody else is. And to really take advantage of that opportunity.
That was beautiful. Thank you all so much for doing this. If anyone has specific questions for any of our panelists today, feel free to send a Q&A in our chat, and we can get you connected, give you access to more resources. Like I said, this is an appetizer. We want you to dive in and learn more. So yeah, everyone give a virtual round of applause for our chat. Thank you all so much for our panelists. Right now, I will bring Beth back, and we will close the show. Thank you all for hanging tight for an extra 10 minutes. But Beth and I have a couple things to plug. First, November 10th, that is our Paying for College event. That will be so helpful. If my Paying for College presentation 10 minutes was helpful, but you wanted to learn more, this is the perfect opportunity. As well as we have a number of academic connects coming up for specific majors and departments. So we had a number of questions about specific departments. Because we have 71 different majors, we aren't able to talk about all of them, unfortunately, but we have a specific time set aside where you can learn more from faculty and students in that particular program. Right now, that is being included in the chat, that link to those events. So feel free to follow that event or that link. It is apu.edu, and you can search online events. It is just included down there. And then Beth, if you want to talk about the virtual APU experience.
Yes, so we do have this amazing new virtual APU campus experience available for you guys where you can kind of experience APU. It's kind of 3D on your computer, and you're able to hear students walking around and get a taste of what APU is like physically at our Azusa campus. So we'd love for you to tune into that. That link will also be in the chat shortly. And yeah.
Perfect. Okay, well, seriously, from us to you, please know that we are cheering for you. We want you to thrive. And if that's at APU, we are so excited. We want to be able to do everything we can to help you. I hope you have an amazing Saturday. I will go drink another 3 shots of espresso. And please have fun. Tip your virtual waitresses. Get home safely virtually. And I hope you have a great day. Thank you all.
Bye everyone.